Hey, thanks for tuning into the podcast. And before it begins, I have a favor to ask. I'd love to hear your honest feedback about the podcast. So please call our listener line at 631-800-3579. 631-800-3579. Leave a message and let me know your thoughts. The show description also has my contact information. Okay, now on with the show. Welcome to the Long Island Sound Podcast, where we explore the muse and the music, from the North Shore to the South Shore, from New York City to the Hamptons, navigating the wellspring of original music from singer-songwriters and musicians from Long Island, New York. Hi, I'm Steve Yusko from GigDestiny.com. Stay tuned as we explore the Long Island Sound. Have I got a wonderful guest for you today. Pete Mancini, who hails from Queens, was the frontman and songwriter for Butcher's Blind Band. He has opened up for acts such as Jimmy Webb, Blues Traveler, Gin Blossoms, Pure Prairie League, Robert Folks, Amy Helm and Larry Campbell and Teresa Williams, Kevin Gordon, and Ian Matthews. What a great conversation. We'll hear songs from his new album, Killing the Old Ways. Now let's listen to the title track.
Cupboard closed and away. You say we're killing the old ways. I'm searching for a better day. Hand that held the gun turned a shooting star to a dying sun. Those hands searching for a better day, a better day, and I won't fade away. Disapprove and stare used to scare me, but not today. Keep the lights for now. I'll keep watching this house. I won't look away. You say we're killing the old ways. I'm searching for a better day, a better day. I won't fade away. Footsteps in the hall say it all. Got a heavy load today.
I came across Pete Mancini recently and discovered his honest songwriting and familiar voice, which supports his unique style and craftsmanship with the guitar. I told a friend that I was to have Pete as my guest tonight, and it so happens that my friend Mike Nugent worked on the Butcher's Blind Band album. Mike recalled that Pete's talent really shined in the group. So now the front man of Butcher's Blind is out in front on his own, touring and showcasing his new album, Killing the Old Ways. I'm so happy to have Pete Mancini on the show. Hey, welcome to the Long Island Sound podcast, Pete. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah, and what was kind of unique is I actually usually just meet my guests like this virtually, but I happened to stop by that round that you were doing with Nico Payton and Ann O'Rourke, and I think Gizmondo, and I really enjoyed it. It was really nice to meet you beforehand. So
yeah, that was a fun night. I love playing Beeries. So
yeah, and I don't know if you know this, Steve Beery and I were in the same Boy Scout troop. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was like, my big buddy protecting me.
Very cool.
It's always good to see him. And just a little plug for Mr. Beery's. He's a great supporter of original music here on Long Island. So we need more guys like him out there, exposing your art out in the music place. So you're from Queens, from my understanding. You're still in Queens, or
still in Queens, Belrose, where I grew up. It's right on the Nassau-Queens border. And I've always kind of had, 1 foot in Nassau, 1 foot in Queens musically, playing all over the island.
Right by the track.
Yeah. Yeah, right over there. And so it's been a big influence on me, being like the central location here. So
it's nice. It's kind of smack, for those who don't know, it's kind of a little bit west towards New York City, but fairly smack in the middle of Long Island. You can get to everything on Long Island in 20 minutes at 2:00 in the morning when there's no traffic. So that's the key to that. Yeah. So where did it all begin for you, as far as an instrument or singing, or hey, I can be a singer-songwriter? What was the epiphany moment for you?
It's funny because I was just talking about this with Nico the other night, and I grew up in a very musical household. My mom played piano. My dad, he used to play oboe. And, we always had records going. We had the Beatles, Clapton, Four Seasons were big favorites. And I played piano and violin as a kid, but they didn't really stick. The classical approach didn't resonate with me, and I just considered myself a failure because I couldn't get it. So I just thought that was it. I tried music, that's it. And in high school, I saw Jack White playing Death Letter and Seven Nation Army at the VMAs.
Oh, great.
Beck did this really cool, spoken word intro for them. And I was like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. I have to play guitar. I went out and I got my first guitar.
In high school?
In high school. Yeah. I started when I was 16. And that's when I started playing in earnest. It was cool because in that moment, you heard this great White Stripes song, but also he played this Son House song. So, in that moment, you got punk rock, you got blues, it opened several doors for me. And I started seeking out old blues records, and I had a blues band with some friends, and, we were listening to Elmore James and stuff. Every high school kid is obsessed with Led Zeppelin for a while.
Right.
But, we were like, oh, who were they listening to? And, we found out a lot of cool music that way. Allman Brothers, and just going back, following the trail with their influences. And a few years later, 1 year later, really, senior year, my buddy passed me a note in class with a list of songs I had to check out. And one of those songs was Theologians by Wilco.
Okay.
And
yeah.
That song, I don't know if you've ever had the experience where a song just hits you at the right time in your life and just knocks you on your ass and pulls you apart, puts you back together again. I just my life was changed by this song. And after that, it was just all about learning to write songs. And my life has had a singular focus since that day. And that was pretty much how it started. And it's been a cool ride ever since.
It's interesting. I did watch that Wilco video that you did. And for those who don't know, I put chapter marks in the podcast. So anything we discuss, people we discuss, like Jack White, and links to Pete's videos and music will be right in the chapter notes, so you can jump right to it, and you'll see images change with that. What I think is really neat, I really love Jack White, by the way. I think Jack White is like one of those original guys that – he's just just plays. He plays on a cheap Japanese guitar, and he's like a garage band guy, and he's not afraid to be himself. And yet, I think he's really great at what he does, and he's reinvented himself with the blue hair and stuff recently. He's going back on tour, and it's funny you mentioned him and Led Zeppelin in the same comment. And I remember seeing a video with him and the lead guitarist for Led Zeppelin, who I just drew a blank because I'm old.
Jimmy Page.
Jimmy Page, yeah, he did that, and with one of the guys from U2, did this little thing where they're kind of trading riffs and stuff like that, which is really, really neat. But I find it interesting that there was a particular song, the Wilco song, that kind of hammered it home for you, Yeah. And what did that do? So you're building a foundation of, all right, what did these guys study? Who did they listen to? But now I can do it, So I guess the next question for me is, I'm always curious about this, is how you capture the muse, I think everyone has the ability, but I think most of us don't woodshed it to really kind of take it when we hear it and write it down and then explore it. So how does it hit you, I guess? Do you sit down and write, or, in the moment? So you made a lot of great comments there, and I'd agree that it's something that anyone could do, but it's a skill that you have to hone. And I do sit down and write, but there's a lot of you just write throughout your day. You're walking around, you hear a lyric or a melody or something. There's no what comes first. A lot of people ask what comes first, the music or the words. And then there's no right answer to that. It's always songs come from everywhere, and you just kind of have to pluck them out of the air and write them down. And it takes a lot of trial and error. Like when I first started writing songs, I just was real hard on myself and, didn't like what I was writing at all. And then eventually you hit one and you're like, oh, all right, I like how this came out. Yeah. And then from there, it's just a matter, you keep going, you keep exercising that muscle, and eventually you start to write songs that you like and believe in, and songs that you want to play out and perform. And if you like it, someone else will connect with it, So, I mean, that's really the only metric you have to go by. And, there's you can get in your head and oh, I'm not writing songs that are, as good as, the people I'm listening to. But you could kind of, trip yourself up if you go, put these limitations on yourself. You can only be better than yourself. So that's what's guided me my whole exactly.
life.
I think when you're true to yourself too, and you can explore it. I know I think songwriting is akin to creative writing in some ways, in that, early in my creative writing, I used to edit on the fly, and I don't know if somebody told me that, but I said, I can't do that. I just got to throw the thoughts down, revisit them, hone and edit. Editing is key. Mm-hmm. But to dismiss out of hand is, I think, a bad thing, because it may be coming to you for a reason. Here's another thing. I don't know if it strikes you this way. I've written poetry and stuff, and this may sound, maybe because I'm older now. If something was driven in the phrases, I'd get choked up about it. I'd feel a little bit of emotion. And to me, that was there's something there. There's something there to share, and I don't know if that's the case with you or.
Oh, absolutely. And it's been happening to me more recently, where, if I hit a certain phrase and it's, you feel emotions start to well up, it's all right, well, then that's got to be that way,
Yeah, I'm on to something here. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just a lot of trial and error, and it's a lot of just, the more you do it, the better you get at it.
Right. So now that you're out on your own, are you what I call a sole practitioner when it comes to writing and putting the music together? And was it different when you were in the band? I know you were the front man for the band, but were you the main songwriter for the band, or was it more collaborative?
Yeah, I was the primary songwriter in the band, and I would bring the songs in, and we would, work on the arrangements together. So, it was filtered through all of our influences. So I would have that initial chords, melody, words, and then we would shape it into something that was Butcher's Blind. That was our sound.
Right.
And now I just, I write mostly myself, but I love co-writing. And this last album, I co-wrote a lot with the producer Matt Patton from the Drive-By Truckers. And, what he was so great at was, let's find a different way to say this phrase. And he has his whole, he's from the South, he's from Alabama, and, he had a whole different perspective. So his suggestions were great, and they took the songs to a new level. And, co-writing, I've co-written with a lot of different people over the years. I co-wrote with my friend Travis McKeveny a lot, and he was a brilliant writer. And
was that the guy from the island who passed away last year?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, yeah, he passed away unexpectedly last year, and we're in the process of getting his third album over the finish line.
Oh, nice.
And we're keeping that going. But yeah, co-writing for me has always been, I love it because, you end up with something that you never would have got to yourself. When it works, it's great. And,
right.
if you have a good co-write chemistry with someone, that's always,
Yeah, I think that's the key. It's wading through to get to that chemistry, should it be there, and understand how, you talked about the gentleman from the South and, perspectives and communication. We just talk different, about different things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think once we connect with whoever we're collaborating with and say, hey, you know what, they're looking out for the song, and it may have hit my ear as being a real criticism, but it's really, it's to the benefit of the song. And I think you got to wade through that, particularly if you have multiple people in the room, because then it's kind of a stew of emotions that can ride around, Yeah. And somebody's got to be in charge, somebody's got to take charge with what you do and drive it home, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we heard, the title track to the album you have out, Killing the Old Ways, before we came into the podcast. You want to tell me how that came about, a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So that song, that was one of the co-writes with Travis. And he was, recalling a conversation he had with a friend, and it was just kind of a, heavy topic and, kind of a loaded conversation. And, it kind of inspired that song. I had written a little bit, but I was stuck on it, and I brought it to Travis, as I often would. And what he was so brilliant at, and what made him such an amazing writer, was that he could take a song and bring it to that next level of artistry where it really kind of, and I realize it more now. But he really brought songs to that next level. And he took the second verse of that song and just wrote this beautiful imagery that kind of captured the message. And I was really happy with how that came out. We originally wrote it in waltz time, and Patton, when we were recording it, he said, let's do it in 4. And it became this kind of marching folk thing. And I think it suits the song so much better. So again, it's like a 3-part collaboration there. And that song it's about the relationship between generations, I guess through the lens of a parent-child relationship. And yeah, I think Killing the Old Ways, when we were picking the album title, we were kind of going through a lot of tumultuous things as society, pandemic,
sure.
A lot of protests in the wake of the murder of George Floyd. And, it just seemed like it fit the times in which we made the album. So that was a good focal point for the album.
Yeah, that's what I really love about music. And particularly now, I think there are more artists that are willing to take on, especially indie artists, social justice issues. I think an independent artist is not afraid to offend his audience and take a stand on a righteous theme and point to things. I think that we need more of that. And that's where, with this podcast and, obviously I'm 60 years old, so I have, my favorites, but I started to listen to WFUV in the city, which really kind of opened me up to, oh boy, because you can get stuck in the pop radio or a particular genre if you dial into Sirius or even on, Spotify, where the algorithm is telling you what you need to hear because you like Tom Jones, so you're going to like this, type of thing. Yeah. And I think I'm yapping away here. I apologize. is we need that ability to discover things on our own. And that's what I like about this. I mean, I love talking to musicians because it inspires me how you guys, how you woodshed your craft. And by the way, you're an excellent guitarist. I mean, I really listen to you on Sunday night and you do a phenomenal job. So
thank you.
Put that out there.
I appreciate that.
It's finding these other platforms to say, I just don't want the old ways, to kind of pigeon, put that together, give me new things to discover and I'll stay young and keep moving along.
100%. I definitely don't want a computer telling me what I should listen to. Right. I do my own research. I care a lot about music. So I seek out music and, I find it, and it's the one obsession in my life. I let it run wild because, I need to hear new sounds to be inspired, and definitely buy way too many records and CDs. But, it's the one thing, this one's okay. I need this.
It's all the building blocks. I'm reminiscing about the LP collection I have in a friend's apartment that's 30 years, and I hope it's just they're not melted away. But I'll get it back someday.
Yeah, go get it, man. Go get it.
Maybe I will. Well, no, I got to finish the podcast first, but then hey, why don't we do this? Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, I just want to talk about a little bit more about songwriting and your approach, and we'll be right back after this. Hang on with us.
On Sunday, June 26th, join WUSB for an anniversary brunch celebration at 11:30 a.m. in the Stony Brook Union Ballroom. And on Wednesday, June 29th at 8 p.m., celebrate the station's 45th anniversary at the WUSB Anniversary Concert at the Stoller Center for the Arts in Stony Brook, New York. Find tickets to all these events and details at WUSB.FM. Listen to WUSB Radio at 90.1 and 107.3 FM and stream WUSB Live 24/7 online at WUSB.FM.
Hey everybody, we're back. We're here with Pete Mancini. We're talking about his new album, Killing the Old Ways, and about social justice and the muse and how he approaches things. And so would you consider yourself, when it comes to songwriting, really a sole practitioner as far as putting it together, putting arrangements, or, what's your process, I guess, once you've kind of got the song nailed down? Where do you take it from there?
Well, I think you touched on this before, and I think it's a great point, is that, I think magic is in the editing phase. So, I will write as much of a song as I can, and, I write by myself a lot. Written a lot of songs, and when I'm stuck on something and I'm like, oh, this could use this person's influence, I'll bring it to somebody. And Trav was one of those people. But what I'll do is, I'll start with a raw idea, and I'll kind of, compile one-liners and little, sometimes a music thing, a little riff or a chord progression, it could come from anywhere. And then eventually when your one-liners start to line up with music that you're working on, okay, this has legs, and, you could hit the ground running from there. Mm-hmm. And, if you get a verse and a chorus, that's a good thing to start with, because then, you write some more verses, you have your chorus, it doesn't need a bridge. And
now I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off, but is the guitar your go-to writing instrument, or do you work with other instruments to put it
Guitar,
together?
mainly guitar.
Okay.
I want to write on piano more because I love playing piano. But yeah, it's mostly guitar. But I do a lot of writing in my head. A lot of times a lyric will be accompanied by a melody in my head. So when I write it down, I hear that melody, and I will go back to the guitar later on and try and suss out the chords behind that melody. And so, it happens different every time, but that's generally how I will hear a song so I write in my head a lot.
Let me ask you this. When you're writing in your head, this may be a left field question. Do you write in a particular genre? Like, this is going to be a rocker. This is more of a folky. This is more of a Americana.
Yeah.
Does that come to mind, or,
Yeah, sometimes, I could hear like a whole arrangement, and I think that definitely happens because, I also think there's all the music I've been influenced by, my ideas get filtered through that lens, and, that's how, I would hear something, and, when I flesh it out on the guitar or, and then start cutting demos of it in the edits, that's where I'll like really shape it. But that initial burst, sometimes, I'll hear stuff and make a mental note or write it down as fast as I can just to preserve it. Because sometimes if you don't write it down, it's gone. Right.
Oh, it's in the ether, never to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. It's interesting. I've read a lot of EPKs, electronic press kits on musicians. I try not to read somebody's EPK before I interview them because I want to be influenced by who they sound like. And maybe you've heard this, but when I first started listening to your music, I thought about REM and Michael Stipe for some reason.
Cool.
I don't know if anyone said that. By the way, that's a huge compliment. Just the way, your cadence, I guess, that kind of jumped out at me. And the other thing I did, and I'm not like, a stalker or anything, but I was watching your videos and I saw a Jayhawks poster and I'm like, son of a bitch. All right. I like this guy already, man.
Yeah. Love the Jayhawks. Love REM.
And the Jayhawks, I only just like John Prine, which I should have known for years, really discovered in the past 10 years. And the Jayhawks in the past, 7 or 8 years, and the Decemberists. I love all those Brandy Carlisle. I'm a big fan of hers as well. And
she's great.
Just great stuff, that's out there. So you're Michael Stipe. Okay. That's what we're going to call you.
I'll take it.
Peter, Michael Stipe, Mancini. So, hey, listen, I do want to jump into your next song that you picked out, which is Madison Avenue Blues. And I got to tell you this, when I'm listening to this song, what I'm wondering in my mind is, okay, guys from Queens, maybe you worked on Madison Avenue, Manhattan, gave it all up for music, washed his hands. Tell me there's some truth to that or no?
Yeah, there's definitely some truth to that. I wouldn't say,
Nailed it.
You're closer to the real story than you think. I got this job. I was leaving a Bottle Rocket show. I hailed the same cab as an ad executive. And he told me, oh, you should get in touch and then, we'll see what we can do for you. And, a couple of weeks and an interview or two later, I had a job on Madison Avenue at a marketing and promotions agency. And I worked there for a number of years. And, like that world of business, I didn't really excel at that in the same way that,
You weren't cutthroat enough? Is that what you're saying?
Wasn't cutthroat enough, didn't have the detail, the acumen for it. Like I do, I like, with music, I can kind of just create at my own pace, in business, it's a whole different world. You have to bring meat to the table.
It's deadlines, baby, and impress the client. And
Exactly.
If he doesn't like it,
exactly,
you're only as good as your last ad or creation.
Yeah. And, it was a cool job and, but it wasn't where I was best suited to be. And I think, we parted ways kind of mutually. And, I just had to own up. It's like, I've just been distracted by my music and, I was kind of at a personal crossroads in my life as well. And I think it was the right decision to step away at that time.
Well, I think you picked the right thing as far as I'm concerned.
And that part of the city, commuting there and back, I took the express bus from Queens into the city, and it was just kind of with all the
horrible.
Yeah, I didn't really fit in that part of the city. There, I love downtown. I love the Lower East Side, but I'm not a
Madison Avenue.
No, I'm not. Yeah. I was, but I'm not. And one interesting thing, one day I was coming out of work, I saw Noel Gallagher from Oasis. He was watch shopping. He was coming out of Breitling watches.
Oh, of course. Right.
And I was like, oh my God. Like, there's the dude who wrote Wonderwall, Champagne. I'm a big Oasis fan. And I was just kind of like,
Did you run up to him dumbfounded and get his signature?
No, I was just kind of like frozen in place, and then he walked away. I was like, damn it. I should have said hi to him. But he probably just would have been like, fuck you, and walked away or something.
It's funny because I used to work around New York City in sales and stuff, and we'd see famous people on occasion. We were out, this guy Vince and what's his name? Andy Rooney from 60 Minutes was walking with his wife. Now, Andy was about 80 years old at the time, He goes, that's Andy Rooney. I'm going to go say hi. I said, oh, please don't do that. And he runs up to Andy Rooney. He goes, hey, Andy Rooney, can I have your autograph? And Andy Rooney looks at him and goes, no. And just keeps walking with his wife. It was like classic New York. It was perfect. Awesome. So on that note, let's take a listen to Madison Avenue Blues, and we'll be right back after the song. Enjoy, everybody.
Gold watches and designer clothes, a syndicated TV show, silver spoon and drink in hand, a rented room in the promised land, fitted suits head home from work, spend their weekends getting their money's worth, stranded out
Hey, we're back with Pete Mancini. Great song, man. I nailed it. I knew there was a story behind it in the first person. I'm an oracle, and that's why you should be tuning in. And I'm also humble too. As I tell my wife, humility is overrated, especially if you're going to be a Madison Avenue man. So
It's true.
So you got a lot going on, Pete. You got a tour coming up and down the East Coast. But I'm really interested. We'll get into what you got coming up in the short term. But tell me about some of the people that you played alongside with. I mean, there's a blues traveler, I think I read, you played with, and some of the places. I know you played at the blues festival, the Patchogue Great South Bay Festival. I saw that video, and so fill me in.
Yeah, over the years between Butcher's Blind and my solo thing, gotten to play with some great artists, Blues Traveler, like you mentioned, Gin Blossoms. Recently, I opened some shows for Jimmy Webb, which was great. And, played some big rooms and some cool festivals. And that's always fun to get to open for a...
Now, how does that happen? I mean, is it just you get to a point where there's a certain notoriety and you get invited, or is it you're working with an agent that's helping you nail these things down? How did you come across playing the big rooms and going on tour and this other stuff? Is it all Pete Mancini working to get himself out there, or?
I do still do my own booking after all these years, but sometimes it's just like sending out emails, and then sometimes it's just making connections through people. Like, for example, my buddy Norm Pruslin from WUSB, he hooked me up with, Jimmy Webb and his wife, Laura Savini, and they were looking for someone to help them out with some tech stuff. And it turned out that, I ended up being kind of an assistant / understudy / opening act for Jimmy. And that's been really cool. So, it just happens in its own ways, and the festival bills and the opening act. So those are the fun gigs.
Well, speaking of which, you're going to be on the bill for the WUSB anniversary concert, right?
Yeah, that should be a lot of fun.
And I think is Rory Kelly's on the bill as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to that. I'm gonna pay the money. I'm gonna
Awesome.
pay the $30.
Well, it's I think it's good for we got to keep USB going.
Unless you need an apprentice podcast host to be off stage, I can do that too. I'm just offering my services right off the bat. So
nice. Yeah. Well, yeah, I have no say in that, but
see the thread. I'm trying to make the connections and weaves on my way in. It ain't working. I can tell, Pete. I can tell by your face it ain't working. If you can see Pete right now, he's like, I can't wait till this is over with. Can you play another one of my songs and let me talk about myself? So what else? Tell us about the tour that you got coming up then as well.
I'm excited to hit the road again. It's been a long time because of COVID. Made touring pretty much impossible for a while there. But I'm going back down south, touring down the East Coast for a little bit, and then over to Nashville, Memphis area, and then down to Oxford, Mississippi, and Alabama. So some new territories I haven't hit yet. I try to expand a little bit more every time, and I still have a few more dates I have to book for the tour, but it's going pretty well so far, and I just looking forward to getting out and seeing some people and playing some shows.
Have you played Memphis before, or? Haven't
played there before, but been there small handful of times.
Yeah, Beale Street is great. The Peabody Hotel with the Ducks, but you got to check out this place. It's a rib place down an alleyway by the Peabody Hotel, which is 3 blocks off of Beale Street, called the Rendezvous. It's the best ribs if you're a rib eater. It's great. Anyway, little plug for them.
Cool.
Had good memories at the
you'd be hard pressed to find bad barbecue in Memphis. Last time I was passing through on my way to the studio, we got Central Barbecue. And,
okay.
That is apparently where all the pitmasters in town eat after they close up. So
Gotcha.
It's kind of like the insider's secret. But I'm, always down to try. I love barbecue, so I'll eat.
Have you gone to Martin's in Nashville?
Martin's.
Martin's. It's a little bit off the beaten track, not on the main street, which is a zoo these days. We were there in October with other couples. Caught COVID. Very worth it. We were inoculated, so it wasn't so bad. But Martin's is, you walk into Martin's and it looks just like a little takeout place, right? And then you walk back and you go up the steps. There are steps that are like 20 feet wide, and it opens up to this huge place with a stage, with a road behind it, and a big sound guy. And the rumor is they're supported by Martin guitars. And they had great barbecue. We sat right behind the sound guy and bought him a few drinks, and we were like golden. Great place. Yeah, you should check it out. They have acts that play there too.
Cool. Yeah. I love in Nashville. I love Arnold's barbecue. That place is really good. And Carter Vintage is right across the parking lot, so you get some barbecue, and then you go see some guitars that you'll never be able to afford. So it's a fun afternoon.
Exactly. So, man, I wish you well on the trip. It sounds like, of course, you're going in the heat of the summer to Nashville, so you'll lose a few pounds, but then you put it back on with the ribs. So I guess that's the balance of it.
It's a trade-off.
So do you go? So is it you go solo? You take a band with you? You pick up people along the way? How do you approach it?
I've done solo tours and full band tours with a trailer, and that was really fun. This one's kind of a mix of both. The first few dates are solo, and then when I'm down south, I'm going to hook up with some of the guys from Dialback Sound, which is the amazing studio I did my record at, and hopefully get a little power trio going, do some gigs down there, and I'm looking forward to that too. So
nice. Let's talk about the third song that we're going to showcase here. Why the Building Falls. Tell me a little bit about that, and we'll let our peeps out there in the world of the Long Island Sound listen to it.
Cool. So yeah, this song was inspired by a conversation I had with Travis, and we were getting bagels and coffee or something, and we were walking around, and there are old buildings. We were in Malvern, which is a nice little town, and there are some old buildings, and then there are some new. It's very stark difference between the buildings that were there originally and then the new modern architecture. So we were talking about how some people just kind of put siding on a house to make it look new, but the bones underneath are. So it is with people, and and then it's like, yeah, man, ask not why the building falls. And I remember it was like, whoa, man,
there's a line.
Yeah. And then Trav told me that I kind of went into this trance fugue state for a little while, and then I was on a trip, and so I cataloged it away there, wrote it down, and then I was on a trip with my girlfriend Lauren, and we were upstate during the pandemic, just got an Airbnb to get away for a few days, and beautiful house on a mountain. You kind of see, they called it Endless Views was the name of the house, and they had this back office room. And I don't know what it was, I just went in there and it just came out. So,
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's sometimes songs could take years. Sometimes it could take weeks. This one came out in one fell swoop, and, went into that room and I came out with this song, and, I love playing it because it's, it just seems with just talking with Travis, we kind of hit on some kind of new unexplored truth there. And I'm really proud of this song.
Nice. All right. So let's take a listen to Why the Building Falls, and we'll be right back after the song.
Cover up the weather beams, fresh paint over the seams. This old house was built in 1925. flags will burn, cities will rust. Stories told, recorded in dust. Lessons learned, the wisdom of age. Knock it down, tear a new page. Ask not why the building falls. Walls will crumble, and so do we all. Ask not what the wise men say. Find your truth and live for today before it gets away. Ask not why the building falls. Walls will crumble, and so do we all. Ask not what the wise men say. Find your truth and live for today before it gets away.
And we're back, everybody, with Pete Mancini. And during the break, Pete and I were talking about, I guess, goal setting, where you want to be better than this guy or that guy. And I was joking around that I just want to be the podcast host who's less shitty than everyone who tries podcasting. But you had a great line. You talked about a song, Pete.
So Aaron Lee Tasjan, who's a great songwriter, he has a song called Success. And the line goes, success isn't about being better than everybody else. It's about being better than yourself. And it's a simple idea, but it's one that's guided me recently, kind of having honed my process over the years. And I know I'm ready to do another album when I hit that song that raises the bar on the last group of songs.
Okay.
So just keep trying to write a better song, and you will. Everyone, I think the best compliment I hear from people is like, man, the songwriting it gets better every album. And it's like,
Nice.
yeah, that's exactly what I'm going for. So it means it's working,
Right. It's like a golf swing. You're competing against yourself, right? Because you can, man, can we all get wrapped up in envy and looking at, oh man, if I just did this, like so-and-so does that. And that's a rabbit hole, I guess, for destruction.
To quote my friend Travis McKevany, to compare is to despair.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Very good. Hey, we've got gems here. That's going to make everyone stay and listen to the podcast all the way through.
Yeah. We saved the good stuff for the end here.
For the end, yeah. And that's what I'm going to tell them in the front, But then people race to the end and, read the end of the book. So, but hey, Pete, a good friend, I end my podcast this way, and it's something that's rang true to me. A friend of mine said, you know what, we can account for what we have in our bank, what we own. We can never account for the time we have left on earth. So the fact that you gave me an hour of your time, shared your music with me is a real blessing. And I really appreciate it. I thank you for it.
Well, thanks for a great conversation, and thank you for, shining a light on the local scene here, because that's super important. And thank you for doing that.
All right. Send your buddies my way. They will be my welcome guests. So anyway, thanks for being here. Everybody, take care. We'll see you soon. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate the time you spent with us. Please subscribe and comment and visit us at gigdestiny.com. Till next time, be generous with your joy, keep your spirits high, and let the music take you on a journey. Be well. Peace. Thank you for listening, and please support our musicians. If you like the podcast, please rate, comment, and subscribe. If you want to partner with us, visit gigdestiny.com. Hit that donate button. We appreciate your support to keep the conversation alive. Take care. Be well.